Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video I am going to be talking about the idea of climate change, but more specifically man-made climate change, which is a crock of bullshit. And I will explain why, and I have two big reasons why man-made climate change is a crock of shit. But before I get into that, the fact of the matter is I am 46 years old. And when I was a kid, back in the 70s and 80s, I was hearing and seeing news reports of could we be going into the next ice age. That was the concern back then, was the planet cooling? Could we be going into an ice age? Then Al Gore didn't win the presidential election against George Bush Jr., and all of a sudden there was global warming, which was a crock of shit, which has been changed to climate change because that is ambiguous enough. The problem is the climate's always changing. But now we have extreme stupidity. AOC is actually putting forward the idea that a problem is cow farts. It's utterly ridiculous that cow farts are causing global warming or climate change. They don't say global warming anymore because there are aspects of extremely cold winters, harsh winters, that doesn't fit the model. But to try and then these people will try to be, well, you can't use weather as an argument for climate change, that yet when there's weather that seems to fit their narrative, then you can use weather. It seems rather strange. But what they're ignoring, they want to talk about how we humans put CO2 into the air, and we do, just by breathing. We breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide, CO2. So perhaps AOC could help reduce the CO2 emissions, and just stop breathing. How about that, AOC? You're putting too much CO2 into the atmosphere. Shut your fucking mouth. Stop breathing. How about that? But even that wouldn't really help. Yeah, they want to pretty much have people stop breathing. It's a war against people. But what the real issue is, the real culprit for putting CO2 into the atmosphere? Volcanoes. Volcanic eruptions. Just one volcanic eruption puts far more CO2 into the atmosphere than humans have in the entire Industrial Revolution. Don't hand me this bullshit that man has caused global warming or climate change. Oh, horse shit. It is the biggest crock imaginable. And here is a website that does actually, and I'll have the link in the description bar. Volcanic eruption. Warning, intense volcanic CO2 activity drives global extinction. This article explains, point blank, the cause of global extinction is volcanic activity. Volcanic eruptions could be responsible for an accelerated and disastrous rate of wildlife extinction, scientists have warned, in the aftermath of the Hawaii and Guantanamo volcanic eruptions. Goes on to say rising levels of carbon dioxide, CO2, in the atmosphere could be linked to strong volcanic activity, according to scientists at Florida State University. And if you want to read the full article, it'll be in the description bar below. The thing is, volcanic activity. We have no control over volcanoes. Simply put, we don't. Now, to be fair, there is another solution for the CO2 issue and the aspect. Well, there's one more thing to show you. There's another beautiful picture of volcanic activity, volcanic eruptions. They're devastating to use the environment. They put a massive amount of CO2 into the atmosphere. They are directly responsible for mass extinctions. If I had heard we are, in the United States, we are overdue for Mount St. Helens. I think it's Mount St. Helens. Or the Yellowstone erupting. If Yellowstone would erupt, because that is more hot springs than anything, but if Yellowstone would erupt, what we would have is 3/4 of the United States would be destroyed. The CO2 that would be pumped into the air would be enough to send the entire United States into a nuclear winter. We would literally have a cloud of ash that would be able to be seen coast to coast. It would be that massive. The idea that humans are the cause of global warming is obnoxious. Now I'm going to try to get the light to drop a little bit. But the thing is, there's another reason why I can't take this man-made climate change seriously. And that is not one scientist or talking head or political figure, not fucking one of you jackasses that is talking about how this is such a big threat. Not fucking one of you has mentioned legalizing hemp. Not fucking one of you mentions hemp. And the thing is, if you're going to try to say about marijuana, you're a fucking idiot. Hemp and marijuana are not the same. Hemp is the cousin of marijuana. They come from the same cannabis plant. They're cousins. Hemp has no THC, or very so small as to not to matter, because you can't get high on it. That is why potheads don't give a fuck about hemp. They don't care about the legalization of hemp because they can't get high on hemp. I care about hemp because hemp could get us off of fossil fuels completely. Not partially, completely. The thing is, hemp could also replace so many uses. Paper. I mean, holy fuck. We wouldn't need to be cutting down trees, deforestation. We would have better clothing. It can be used with so many things. There's literally thousands of uses for hemp. But none of these jackasses will mention hemp. Not one talking head will talk about hemp and the importance of hemp. The reason is big money, big oil. Their lobbyists aren't interested. They don't want you to know about it. They don't want them talking about it because that would hit their bottom line. That's what this comes down to. What this AOC wants to do, she wants money. It's not going to solve the issue. You really give a fuck about the environment? Any of you, anyone that's going to dislike this, anyone really want to help the environment, get hemp legalized. Don't run your dick lickers about marijuana. This is not marijuana, this is hemp. They're completely different plants, completely different purposes. Hemp was made illegal so that big oil and big business could make money. Politicians don't give a fuck about it because their pockets aren't being lined by donors for hemp. For fuck's sake, the Constitution and Bill of Rights were written on hemp paper. Hemp, it was the backbone of this country. And it irks me to no end, the dumbasses that want to try and link hemp to marijuana. That's like trying to say your cousin commits a murder, so you should go to jail. Just because your cousin did something. That's horse shit. Hemp was criminalized in order to make money on big oil, paper, and other materials. Even because you can use it for building materials with houses and clothing. Hemp fiber, hemp can be also used with being a food that is healthier. I mean, there's so many things that hemp, it appears to be a miracle product. But not one of these climate change jackasses says boo about hemp. And that tells me they're either too stupid or don't care about the actual, what would actually help. They're interested in using and only running their mouth about the talking points that are given by the left and so forth. No, don't give me your fucking one-sided talking points bullshit when you want to ignore the main issue. The big thing that would end this discussion. There would be no argument. There doesn't need to be. People in Congress, members of Congress, legalize hemp. AOC, stop running your fucking mouth about cow farts. Legalize hemp. I had sent a tweet to Donald Trump telling him, run on the idea of legalizing hemp. You'll make this country awesome because hemp is the backbone. It was the backbone of this country, and it should be again. Make America great again. Get us back to hemp. Get us back to using hemp. That is where we need to go back to. It's not about marijuana. Marijuana is completely different. Yeah, they come from, like I said, they come from the same plant. They're both cannabis. But they're very different uses. Very different purposes. You can get high on marijuana. You can't on hemp. You just can't. And that's the big issue. Hemp is all about industrial uses. It irks me to no end when people want to try and they start off talking about hemp and they jump to marijuana. No, that's like you're talking about one person and you jump to talking about their cousin. I don't give a fuck about their cousin. We're talking about them. Hemp is the issue. Hemp is what matters. Because hemp can rejuvenate this country. Like I said, it can take us completely off of oil. It can remove the need for deforestation. It can do so much. But no one that talks about climate change mentions hemp at all, which makes me say they don't really give a fuck about the environment, because they're ignoring the biggest thing that would be the biggest change across the board. Legalize hemp. Bring it back. Allow the use of hemp. Completely industrial. You won't have it. I can guarantee. You will not hear legislation on this. You will not hear anyone, especially in politics, they won't even mention this. Because neither side give a fuck about the environment. Because they know as well as I do, we don't have any control over the planet. We're inconsequential as far as Mother Nature is concerned. Mother Nature doesn't give a fuck of what we do. We have no impact on this planet. One volcanic eruption dwarfs anything we do. Seriously. The planet has ways of dealing with. It's not about what we're doing. And the idea that taxing somebody is going to do dick for the planet, no. The planet doesn't give a fuck about taxes. It doesn't care about what you want to profit from. The planet doesn't give a fuck about that. So anybody that wants to be a climate change jackass, don't hand me anything that involves money, because that's not what the planet needs. Especially when you're ignoring a solution that doesn't mean money, but would mean completely changing our society and changing it back to how this country was founded. Legalize hemp. And basically beware of those volcanic eruptions, because they will fuck up an environment. They will fuck up the CO2 levels real quick. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.